and welcome to KnightHunter Books. Today we're going to be doing actually one of the Top 5 Wednesday videos, which will be the first we've done. Top 5 Wednesday is hosted by Sam over at Thoughts on Tomes. We'll put her link down below, along with the link to the Goodreads group. This week's topic is favourite creepy settings, which initially you really struggled with. I'm like, I don't read creepy books because we don't tend to read much horror. But then we actually had a look through some of the science fiction and fantasy books we read, and we definitely came up with a few that we consider creepy settings, but may not be the way that people usually interpret that.
The first book I'm going to talk about is The House of Shattered Wings by Aliette de Bodard. This is set in an alternate post-apocalyptic Paris, and fallen angels are a thing. And when they're initially fallen, they're very weak, and it is possible to gain quite a lot of power by consuming them. And so they survive that initial fall, build this sort of power structure around themselves to defend themselves. It's high gothic. It is not a nice place to be in any way, shape or form.
The first book that I thought of, or the first series, when I saw this topic, is the Southern Reach Trilogy by Jeff Vandermeer. This is Annihilation, which is particularly shows the creepy setting in all its colour. This was my favourite book of the year a few years ago, and this series is all about a creepy setting. The setting is the main character. This book in particular follows 4 female kind of scientists or military experts as they are sent in to explore the mysterious Area X, which started out normal and then something happened and it just went a bit weird. This is definitely new weird in genre. So things like you've got lots of different ecosystems that get kind of blended together, and animals that don't look quite like our animals. Like there's dolphins which have human eyes. This is the 12th expedition. Nothing good happens to the previous ones.
Yeah, and it's layered around even outside of the area itself. It almost feels like it's warped the institutions around it. So it's surrounded by layers of lies and misdirection. So the official story is that there's been some sort of environmental catastrophe.
Yeah. And the writing as well, I love the writing in this, but it really gives that kind of atmosphere, and I had goosebumps a few times while reading this. So I would absolutely recommend this if any of that sounds interesting to you.
My next book is a bit of a chunker. I'm not going to hold it up for the entire thing. It's Seveneves by Neil Stevenson. And this is creepy in the sense of sort of creeping doom, which is probably stretching the definition ever so
We're a little
slowly.
off the beaten track now.
And I'm going to put it down. In this, within the first couple of pages, the moon gets broken into several pieces. It quickly becomes apparent this is a bad thing. A very, very bad thing. And the first section of the book is the scramble to get off the planet, because there is a timetable at which point you will never be able to launch anything again. And that's kind of the first creeping thing, but there's actually multiple kind of apocalypse timers. In the next stage, they're in space, and they're just battling against entropy. Everything is breaking, they have limited resources, and they are never going to get any more resources. And again, there's just this sort of slow slide down the catastrophe curve as things get worse and worse and worse, and people, being people, don't react well in that situation, and it's just that slow shrinking horror. It's like, what's going to happen next? What's going to go wrong next? And I keep on thinking that you'd like this.
Yeah, I think I might have to read this, but sounds like it would make me very anxious. The next series I thought of, I actually read them on ebook, so I don't have anything to hold. The Dark Eden series by Chris Beckett. I have 3 books in the series. I need to pick up the 3rd one soon. And these are set in space, on a planet that we start off not really knowing anything about. There's only a really small community of people in the first book. But one of the things we do know about this planet is it's dark. There is no light except for various parts of the ecosystem which have developed luminescence. So there's just small areas of light, and their camp main area has got, you know, some light, but beyond that it's dark. You can't see anything beyond. They haven't really explored the planet yet, so they don't know what's out there. And I found this really creepy. There's one part where they do try and explore further, so go where no one's gone before and just walk into the snowy dark. The writing as well must have really got that across to me, because I don't always manage to picture in my head what's going on in books, but the pictures in my mind were very dark as well, which I quite liked. And I was so nervous. Like, I had no idea, you just have no idea what to expect, because you start off going, this is sci-fi, but I didn't know if it was going to change genre entirely midway through the book. So yes, that was very creepy.
Short story that came up first, and I found that unpleasant rather than creepy, because the society that's set up on this world is also not very nice.
Yeah, it's quite a desperate society, quite practical.
My final one is William Gibson's The Peripheral, which came out a few years ago now, and this is a creepy setting in that it made me think differently about where we are now, about where the world is now. So there are two timelines, both the near future and a semi-far future, sort of 70, 80 years down the timeline. And there is an apocalypse in the gap in between the two, which certainly during the book it convinced me that we are in fact heading for. The survivors on the other side refer to it as the jackpot, because material science and technology takes off hugely. Basically, in the future, the people that are left have no needs, no worries. They're living in a post-scarcity future. However, there's a lot less of them than there are people now. By about 90%, there's just been huge die-offs through pandemics, natural disasters.
It's called the jackpot because these are the people telling the story who won the lottery.
Yes, and having to reconcile themselves to the fact that, frankly, because their ancestors were in the right places and had enough money, they've survived. And it isn't a hopeful multicultural future, because actually there's an awful lot of poor parts of the world that have just been stripped bare.
Yeah, I can see why you think it's creepy.
Yes! Yeah, I mean, it's horrifically compelling, but in not the most cheerful of reads.
Those are the 5 books we picked out as what came to mind when we were thinking of creepy books that we've read. Let us know what you think of and what books you'd like to recommend as well. Thank you for watching, we'll see you again soon.